Hello, everyone. Welcome to the President's Live Briefing. We have about 179 people registered to join us this afternoon. A number of you have been joining us since the spring, so welcome back. Just as a reminder, please place your questions in the Q&A box. Do not raise your hand. I won't be able to see when you are raising your hand. And briefings are always posted on the messages from the President's page at lehman.edu, so you can always check them out there. And the links that are referenced in the presentations here will be included in a follow-up email after the presentations. So with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Lemons.
Thank you, Joshunda, and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for this President's Live Briefing. Welcome again. If you haven't seen other welcomes, welcome to the fall term of 2020, which began yesterday, as I'm sure all of you are very aware. Joining today are Provost Nwosu and Vice President for IT, Ronald Bergmann, and they will each be presenting some, I think, very timely and detailed information that will be very relevant for us as we're in the second day of this fall term. First, I wanted to comment briefly on the shooting of Jacob Blake in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and the resulting protests and the subsequent vigilante murder of two protesters and the wounding of another. I'm sure we're all paying attention to that like we have of all of these recent events, and every one of these, I think, travels like a shockwave, but unfortunately a familiar shockwave. Our society's become so fractious, and the national discourse, particularly now, and I have to say particularly this week, with everything that's happening this week, is just adding to the division that we already have. Many around the country have only the shallowest of understanding of what Black Lives Matter is really about, and it is painful to listen to much of what's being said, both by many leaders and by ordinary people. Ignorance is really a terrible thing, and a large part of our task as an institution of higher education is to take on ignorance with facts, data, and a narrative that is inclusive of marginalized voices. Our campus climate task force is working already and has already begun this summer to work on guiding the efforts on campus around issues of race and racism. And we all have a lot to think about along with them, and how we break through the fog of misinformation and bigotry that's being intentionally created by those who have just far too narrow a view of what this country is about and its true identity. Along with making it through the pandemic and the financial crisis that we are now in, this is our task as a learning and a supportive community. It always has been our task, but it is so much more our task in this moment. And I really believe we are up to it. And I hope that we'll all be active participants along with the task force that is working, looking inward, but also looking outward, because I think that we have work that we can do on both of those fronts. There's really nothing more crucial than all of us engaging in that in the coming months and through this academic year. In terms of updating you, there is no update on the budget whatsoever. We are continuing month to month, and the inaction in Washington, as you know, continues. So there's really nothing really to add on the budget. We are simply holding steady with the plans that we have made. We have launched our reopening plan for the campus. That is on our website, and you can go there and see all the details about what that involves. And I'll just reiterate what I said last week, is that I think reopening is really a misnomer. The campus has remained open since March. We've never closed the campus, but we have limited access to the campus to a great degree, and that really continues. And there's really nothing that's different about that, except that Now that the term has begun, we have a very small number of classes that are taking place on campus, maybe 20 or 30 students at most at a time on campus. So we remain open, but we remain open with very careful access. Vice President Bergmann will fill us in more, but hopefully you know that there is now a health screening app that we have available to us, and that is something that must be used every day before coming to campus to get a clear signal that it's okay to come. And we'll get other details from Vice President Bergmann also, I think, on other aspects of our digital learning environment, which is our learning environment for this fall term. So happy to have him to fill us in on a number of things. And again, just emphasizing masks all the time. No matter where, if you come to campus, no matter where you are, you wear a mask unless you are really isolated in an office, but otherwise, masks are mandatory. I wanted to say also a little bit about two really very timely and important events that are happening, which are not on the campus, but have a huge impact on the campus. The first is the 2020 census. As you know, it's mandated by the Constitution to happen every 10 years. It's been happening since 1790. This is the year for it to happen. Last year, we had a number of campus events around the census, and even in the very first part of 2020, we did, until the pandemic interfered with any further events that we had around it. But we've tried as a campus to raise awareness about the census and the importance of it. The fear that has been raised by the President of the United States, first by proposing that there be a question added around citizenship, even though that didn't happen, that has created a climate around the census that is probably discouraging many people from completing it. So as you discuss the census with family, friends, whoever that hasn't yet filled it out, I think it's really important to emphasize that the information is confidential. There are no citizenship questions, and there's no way that someone filling out the census is in jeopardy if they're undocumented. Everybody needs to be counted, regardless of their age or of their citizenship status, how long they've lived in the dwelling. None of these things matter. What matters is that we have a much more complete count than we're getting right now. It determines how much money will come to the state, to the city, to the Bronx, and it also determines the membership in Congress. And we have at least one seat and possibly more that are in jeopardy because of what is so far a very low response rate for the census. It's easy to fill out the form online. It takes 2 or 3 minutes, and it can be done right now until September 30. There is the National Urban League, on Tuesday actually, filed an appeal with a federal judge to extend that census deadline, but of course we don't know the outcome of that yet. But please complete it. Please encourage all of your colleagues, remind your students, tell everybody that this is critically important and we really need to get the count up in the Bronx. Just one word of caution, something that came across today, there were 3 to 5 people on 125th Street with laptops that were completing people's census forms, asking for their social security numbers and offering them a $10 card to Subway. Nobody is going officially allowed to offer any money for someone to fill out a census, and that obviously is a scam, and that is intended to get people's information. So that is just something, again, to be on guard about. Very sad that someone would try to exploit the census that way, but it's happening, so we need to be aware. And then on voting, you've probably heard a lot about early voting. First of all, I want to remind you, Lehman students vote, and they vote in greater numbers by far than the average college student in the United States. Typically, in a presidential election, a little over 20% of college students vote. in the 2018 election, which actually had a very high voter turnout, particularly for off-year election, that went up to about a little over 40%. But Lehman students, 53% of Lehman students voted in the 2018 election, well above the national average. That is really great. That helps me every time I talk with one of our elected officials. I remind them about that. That is really important for the college, but of course it's important for way beyond the college. So I want to encourage all of us, but particularly students, to keep that up and to boost that above 50% this year. The climate that's again been created around voting from the same source has also been one of trying to create suspicion and undermine the legitimacy of voting. And so one of the things that is really important, so that every vote really does get counted, is to vote early. There are sites that you can go to. We have actually listed information or linked to information in the Lehman Weekly that came out today, and we'll do that again in subsequent weeks for information on how to vote early, how to get an absentee ballot, how to register. If you're not registered, there are 3 ways to vote early. You can vote by mail, you can request a ballot. You have to do that by October 27. It has to be returned by November 3rd, election day. It can be returned by voting, or you can vote early. In New York, that's going to be October 24 to November 1. And then on election day, of course, voting. And you can also get an absentee ballot. And if you're worried about the mail system, you can drop that off. So there are many ways to do it. But one of the things that to remember is that it's important to get in a request for an absentee ballot now, if that is the way that you want to vote, so that you're sure to get it in time and you can return it early. So there's no reason that it won't make it through the postal system, no matter how the delays might be leading up to November 3. So with that, I will turn it over to the provost, because he has a lot of really great information for us about the current term. So provost, please take the reins.
Thank you, President Lemons, and good afternoon, everyone. Let me join the president in welcoming everyone back to the fall term. I will be sending out sometime next week a welcome message to our students and certainly to our faculty and staff as well. The president has done so. And there was also one from the chancellor during the week. As the president mentioned, we have had lots and lots of planning going on and preparation to get us ready for this this semester. As most know, this will be the first fully virtual, in a sense, term that we will be having. When we took a break, not really a break, but when we left the campus in March, we did move on to the virtual environment for the rest of the semester. And so that was just part of the semester that we did that. And then we moved on to summer, and that was also fully online. And this one actually is quite different in a sense that we will be spending August through December for the entire period, consistent with the reopening plan that was approved yesterday, and lots of work went into that plan. We have been engaged in communicating with the campus community. We have sent lots of memos, including this weekly meeting that the president hosts. And so we've worked very much to be transparent with the entire campus community in terms of the process that we are using as we get ready. And certainly this week we have begun that journey. One of the things I want to share with folks, and I've shared this at the PDC meeting, the Provost and Dean's Council meeting we had today, was, there's no script for how to do this. There is no national script that every one of us is following. We've had to do all of this from the scratch, even with the central office at CUNY, at the central office. There is also no script. We've had to invent the approach that we are using, mindful of our own environment, mindful of the experience we went through in the city. And nationally also, there's no institution that has a script for doing this, which of course is why we've seen variations across the country in terms of reopening plans. If you're watching the news, you will notice just this morning, University of Alabama announced that they reopened, but of course they had 500 plus students who got infected. And then Notre Dame had also the same experience. So what we have tried to do on our own campus, mindful of the guidance provided by CUNY, mindful of the guidance provided by the state, to ensure the safety of our campus community. And all in all, I think we have done well in working us through that process. But I know also that even with the best of planning, that sometimes mistakes happen. You know, nobody's perfect, errors occur. And part of it is not really because you want those to happen, but it's just the nature of this business. I know that earlier on the eve of our planning to start yesterday, there were 2 emails that were sent. One had to do with proctoring and the other had to do with recording of classes. And of course, I understand that email sent some confusion around. Even with the best of intentions, you have those things happen. As I mentioned in one of our meetings this morning, also at our Provost and Dean's Council, you begin to see that there are variations, even across our 25 colleges and even across our units, there are variations in terms of how things happen. And so if you look at some of that, the content of the message that went out, you will see that in some departments, there's a common syllabus. For example, for a particular course, math is one such area where that could happen. And so adjunct faculty in that regard may not be able to make those changes as the memo suggests. And so that created some confusion. I do want to say that none of this is intentional. I know that I got feedback from our deans, from a number of chairs. I also had discussions yesterday with the chair of the College Senate. And that feedback I did receive has also been very helpful. As we walk through this semester, we will continue to do what we did in spring and summer to get feedback that allows us to manage better the process. But also I want folks to keep in mind this notion of good intention. No one goes into this trying to make mistakes. But because there's no script, you're going to have this. And when we began this process in March, in my early messaging to the campus community, I talked about this notion of being kind to one another. That idea of being kind to one another is going to be very, very important as we continue to navigate an experience none of us ever experienced, but it is where we are. Be safe, remain safe. As the president has mentioned, keep in mind health issues. Those things will remain very central as we navigate this full semester of a mostly virtual online. And our goal is to continue to work together so that we get through this. And at some point, we will have the opportunity to return to campus in full. One of the things that I have also talked about, and our students will need this, they're also dealing with all kinds of challenges, just as faculty and staff are dealing with all kinds of challenges. There is not a person who has not been impacted either a family member has been lost, close friends lost as a result of this, taking care of family members in that single space. And so I, again, encourage all of us to be flexible as we engage our students and to show compassion as we engage them through this, very, what continues to be a challenging time for us. They have made the effort to come to us, to learn, to get their lives transformed, and for us to ignite new possibilities in them. And that's why we are where we are at this point. I want to share some good news, and if we get to the next slide, so you can see our enrollment in terms of the students that have chosen us at this institution. We continue to make progress. If you look at the head count on the left side of the screen, 15,543. That's actually the flat enrollment number, the number we had last year, that we have been working with. If we maintain this flat enrollment, that would go a long way in terms of our fiscal situation. As the president mentioned, we don't know where the budget is at this point, but that would help. And so everyone, department chairs, faculty, deans, enrollment management, student affairs, everyone is banded together to get us to where we are. At the graduate level, you will see that we have a 9% increase. This is, if you compare this to where we were last year, this is a 9% increase in graduate enrollment. That's a significant increase. At the undergraduate level, there's a 4% growth there. And overall, we are currently at 14,552 students compared to where we were about the same time last year, which is 13,954 students. So this is huge progress. The semester just began this week. We are making steady progress towards meeting that headcount goal. My understanding from VP for Enrollment Management, VP Sarmiento, is that the numbers that I'm sharing with you actually puts us closer to that target. We're now at 93% of our target. And if we actually add college now, the enrollment we get from high school students who come to us, that actually gets us closer to our enrollment target, and that will be 96.7%. So we're making significant progress. As I mentioned in one of our last briefings, new freshmen, it's been an area where we have done exceedingly well. We now have a little over 1,300 new freshmen at the institution, much more higher than the goal we had set for ourselves of about 900 students. Where we are making progress, we're not yet close, we have not achieved our target yet, is a new transfer, but we are at 94% of target. So we're also making progress in that regard. So I share this good news to say that without everyone's involvement, engagement, we will not be where we are. And I know this has not been easy for all of us, but I know as an institution working together, we have made significant progress on these numbers. So thank you so much. The next slide it's just a quick update on the faculty support that I've talked about. This has to really do with essentials for online teaching. That support continues through this semester, and the faculty mentors that I mentioned earlier would also be working within the schools to provide support to faculty to assist them with their virtual teaching. Thus far, in the last several weeks, we have been doing the essentials for online teaching. The number you find here is the number of faculty that have actually completed those sessions. There's an additional 67 faculty members, and there's an additional 161 adjunct faculty, bringing together some 230 participants. And this is just in the last few weeks, summer up to the point of the beginning of this semester. Next slide. I want to talk a little bit more about the library. I have provided information during the last briefing about the resources provided by the library. But this one speaks to the electronic reserves. As I mentioned in one of those meetings, the chief librarian, Kenneth Schlesinger, did actually reach out to faculty, department chairs, and deans, requesting them to provide information on electronic resources or materials they would need for the semester. They have been doing that, and the library has been a key partner in ensuring that many of our faculty have the resources that they need in order to support students also in the classroom. I have provided some information here to assist faculty if they need additional support in this arena to reach out to the library for that support. They have done a great job in this regard. The other area where the library has also been providing support, next slide, it's related to remote reference services. Again, these are the hours that the library has, and the information is actually a 24/7 chat line where folks can actually reach the library if they need support services outside of the hours that are provided here. And again, this information is posted on the website for the library. They stand ready to support faculty. They stand ready to support students as we get ready to move with the fall semester. One final area where the library has also done some great work, next slide, is with regard to the Open Educational Resources Initiative. Just a week ago, they submitted a proposal, and we're hoping we will receive funding for this to the central office in the amount of $127,000 plus, to actually be in a position to convert, work with faculty to convert a number of courses that would utilize open educational resources. So that's what this initiative is, and we have, as a college, been involved with this process since 2018. What you find there are the total number of courses that have been converted by faculty from 18, 19, and 20, and then we're asking for additional funding. This has also saved our students a lot of money. Across CUNY itself, if you look at the right-hand side of the past OER funding, you'll see the amount of money this has saved our students in purchase of textbooks. Across the entire system, we're talking about savings to students of more than $46 million. So this is a major initiative, and I want to thank faculty members who continue to work with the library to ensure that our students are able to use these open educational resources to support their work in the classroom. The final slide I have, next one, is really about additional support provided by Student Affairs Office of Campus Life. There's a calendar of events that office has put together. It's on the website. I just wanted to draw folks' attention to some key points, particularly students, but also our campus community. How to interview over Zoom. They have this in place, working with students with disabilities. Constitution Day is September 19th. There is a panel discussion on mobilizing the vote. This is bringing influential Latinas in politics to engage our students in that conversation. There's one on open house for paid internship. There's a leadership dialogue. This is a very good one as well. And the one that actually struck my interest is the presidential debate viewing party that's been scheduled for Tuesday, sometime in September and also sometime in October. Actually, those are the dates for the presidential debates, and students gather together and the community gathers to view this, and afterwards there's a panel conversation around what they heard. And there's also a number of other activities that the Office of Campus Life has organized to keep our students busy as part of the Leadership Development Center. And then there is also recurring services with our food pantry. So I want to thank Suzette and the leadership in that unit for the work they've done to pull all of this together as we move into the fall semester. Mr. President, I hand over this back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Provost Nwosu. That starting with that really great news about enrollment. Those are really terrific numbers. From thinking back to the summer when we're looking ahead and just really not knowing what to expect.
That is true.
And all of that is really, everything you presented is such important information for us. To continue bringing in key information and a lot of what's really enabling us to function. Vice President Bergmann, would you tell us what you'd like to tell us?
Sure. Thank you, President Lemons, and thanks to you and the Provost for navigating Lehman through these unprecedented times. And welcome to everybody back to the new semester, and especially to our new students and faculty. My goal today is to briefly review some key technology issues and initiatives that I hope will be useful for students and faculty and staff. We're fortunate to have a great team at Lehman where we collaborate across divisions and strive to provide quality services. And fortunately at Lehman and CUNY, we've had technology services in place prior to March that helped us and facilitated our ability to hold remote teaching and learning and virtual student support services, as well as conduct business operations virtually. So on the Lehman campus, we've been able to provide virtual phones for 200 faculty and staff members, so they're able to pick up their phone at their residence, at their office phone at their residence. We have electronic personnel forms for employees in place. And for students, we have some tools such as an electronic declaration of major and an e-transfer credit evaluation process. And I hope that students will avail themselves to those if they haven't already. So I'll start with the student laptop loan program. A key goal for Lehman is to ensure student success, and this focus on student success is what makes Lehman so special and why I love Lehman. Our goal is to ensure that students have access to the tools they need to complete their studies. And since we went fully online in March, we've loaned nearly 1,500 Chromebook laptops to students, and 450 for the fall semester alone. We have a tremendous team led by Raymond Diaz, Russ Taylor, and Denny Santos of Student Affairs. And members of IT, Student Affairs, and Administration and Finance have also been working to distribute computers for faculty, and I want to thank them for their work. I also want to thank those students who, without any prompting, have returned devices that they no longer need to Lehman because they know that they could be used by somebody else. So if you are a student in need of a Chromebook to complete your studies, we have an online device loaner form that takes about 8 minutes to complete, and we invite you to do that. Information about the loaner form and more information can be found in the weekly update from the Office of Media Relations that the President mentioned. And so please complete that form. And we know that it's already been used widely. And now I want to turn to hotspots, because I know that's very important for our community. Hotspots or MiFi devices are small, portable devices about this big that connect your laptop to the internet. In their meeting in mid-August, the CUNY Board of Trustees approved the purchase of 4,000 of these devices for CUNY campuses. The Lehman allocation was 273 of these hotspots. We know that the order has been issued and that shipping should be hopefully soon. So we'll get those out as soon as we can. But we also know that there are a number of students that have very slow Wi-Fi or no Wi-Fi at all. So in addition to the CUNY hotspots, the president, the provost, Vice President Ebersol, and Dean Bazil are all working hard to see what we can do to obtain more of these devices to support student needs, and we extend our appreciation to you for that. So if you do not have internet, or it's very, very slow, we ask you to request a hotspot, put your name on the list, using the same loaner form that I mentioned before. You can go also to the Lehman website and search under COVID for student resources. Next, we'll move on to some key areas of technologies that students ought to be aware of. First, by now, all students should have their CUNY login and should be able to access CUNY First and Blackboard. If you don't, please call the help desk or contact them by email, and I'll say more about that shortly. If you're new to Blackboard, I recommend that you take the 1 hour and 15 minute self-paced intro to Blackboard. It's called Are You Ready? And if you search under courses for Are You Ready, you can self-enroll and you can start and stop when you want, and you'll receive a certificate of completion when you're done. Within Lehman, and this is something you won't find at any other college, we have an incredible resource just for Lehman students, faculty, and staff. It's called Lehman 360. I call it L360. It brings together information from multiple systems all in one place. It's an easy-to-use hub for staying in touch with your academic progress. It displays information for students, shows your virtual ID card, your virtual library card, so you can access library cards, library resources online, shows your class schedule, book information, transfer credits, and much more. It even has a password wallet where you can store passwords for frequently used systems. Faculty can use Lehman 360 to view class rosters, to message students, to receive notifications from their department, I want to remind everybody that for Lehman 360, you use your Lehman College login to access it. It was developed in-house by and for students. And so far in 2020, Lehman 360 has had more than 36,000 logins. By the end of the year, we expect more than probably it'll grow significantly, but I should say that number is actually 360,000 logins, not 36,000. We also, since we launched in late 2017, students have accessed Lehman 360 more than 800,000 times. So they're voting with their feet, and we encourage you to use it, especially for new students who may not yet have seen it. If you need any tech assistance, the IT help desk is here for you. Since March, the help desk has provided tech support for more than 22,000 students, faculty, and staff. This semester, the help desk will be open 7 days a week from 8 to 8 on Mondays through Thursdays, and from 9 to 5 Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And you can reach the help desk by email at help.desk@lehman.edu. And more information is available online. And also our team, for those of you who are in LAH courses, will be at LAH classes to provide an overview of IT at Lehman. Next is the chatbot and live agents. I want to let you know more about this. The provost will also be sending an email about this as well as Zoom. But many of you have already used the Lehman Chatbot, which is on our website and provides basic information about Lehman. A chatbot is essentially a simulated human conversation, takes place by text, and Lehman is one of the 5 colleges at CUNY that are experimenting with this new service, which has been really terrific for our students. Due to the great work of enrollment management, and particularly a shout out to Chris Bonacore, we're now piloting the use of live agents as part of the chatbot. So this means that staff members from 5 offices so far within the college will be available to connect with you in real time as part of the chatbot. Academic advising, for example, which is a critical service that we provide, will be available from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5 and Saturdays from 10 to 2. Other offices in the pilot include admissions, both graduate and undergraduate admissions, the registrar, and the IT help desk. The great thing about live agents and the feedback we've gotten from students and staff alike is that it's wonderful to have real-time feedback, immediate answers to questions. So we invite you to let us know about your experience. And we'll hopefully expand this in the future. Next, we'll move on to Zoom. Everybody loves Zoom. It's been widely adopted as an easy-to-use video conferencing platform. And many faculty will be using Zoom for classes via Blackboard. Under the brand new CUNY license, which just came out last week, students, faculty, and staff, all of us, now have a CUNY Zoom account, which can be found at cuny.zoom.us. A link to Zoom has also been listed in the Lehman login page, which you can find on the home page of the Lehman website, and it'll be on the top right side, and you can find it there and get all the logins for your Lehman and CUNY systems. So when you log into Zoom, please use your CUNY username and password. And a special note to faculty, the provost mentioned this earlier, but we ask that you please be mindful of CUNY Central's guidance regarding recording classes. The information can be, if you want to refer to it, you could go back to the provost's email on academic continuity that was sent last Friday. For students, the provost is also sending an email shortly about both Zoom and live agents, so you'll find more information there. Next up is the campus entry self-screening app that the president mentioned. In order to ensure a low density of people on the campus, as the president said, only essential and scheduled non-essential employees are allowed, as well as a small number of students and faculty who have in-person classes. So you probably saw the email yesterday that was sent. And if you have permission to come to the campus, we ask you to fill out this new app. You can download it at the Play Store or on the App Store. And it's called Everbridge, which is the name of the vendor, Everbridge. And so if you download that, search for CUNY Wellness Checker. And then each time you come to campus, please complete the wellness checker in advance and show the result at the gate when you come in. Lehman employees also need to take a brief course that's found on Blackboard. And as the president mentioned, masks, social distancing, and hand washing is essential all the time, and certainly when on campus. Finally, I just want to report and give you an update to faculty and staff regarding email. As you know, we've been planning this for some time, and we're very close to migrating faculty and staff to a new email platform on Microsoft 365. It's been a complex task, and under the leadership of AVP Eddie Ruiz, we're almost there. Microsoft 365 is going to enhance our ability to collaborate. It works well with Teams and so many other tools. I have had it for the last month or so, and it's really incredible. I learn more about it each day. And I'm pleased to also say that Leslie Grubler, along with a small team from the Speech, Language, and Hearing Center so far, have migrated, and they're very, very satisfied so far. So please stay tuned. We'll send email updates on progress and next steps shortly. So that's my update. Thank you, President Lemons, for this opportunity, and best wishes to everybody for a safe and successful semester. Thank you.
Thank you so much for all of that great information, Vice President Bergmann. Quick question on Adobe. I know that there's ongoing discussion at the university level about Adobe licenses. Could you comment a little more on that?
Sure, that's a critical tool for our art students, our journalism students in particular, and for many faculty and staff members. So there's different parts of Adobe, and we're probably talking about the Adobe suite. And so we've been negotiating at the central level with Adobe for some time, and they are making progress, I'm happy to report. I just learned today that it looks like they have a structure for a deal. I'm told that all students that currently have Adobe will have their licenses extended through September 30th, and if that is not in place, it will be in place shortly. And hopefully by that time, the agreement with Adobe will be finalized, and we'll have the ability to access more licenses for students at a lower cost. And if we need to purchase more, we'll be able to do that if funds are available. But we should have enough Adobe licenses for the needs of students, faculty, and staff. In addition, there's a small number of computers that will be purchased. They are about to be sent out from Dell to the campus, where we will load Adobe and make those computers available to students who are particularly in the graphic arts area and journalism under the leadership of Dean James Mann in Arts and Humanities. So progress is being made. It hasn't been as quick as we would like, but I'll have more to report in the next week or so.
Thank you. And another question, where's the best place for faculty and staff to go if there are any issues with Zoom?
Yeah, so we have two terrific resources in Migdio Dominguez, who runs our Media Technology Center, as well as Steve Castellano, our Blackboard administrator. There's also great resources in our online education area. So those would be places to start. I know that many faculty are going to need to migrate their schedules or their recordings from the Lehman Zoom license to the CUNY Zoom license. And so we will provide some guidance around that. And I want to remind people that the Lehman license will expire on September 12th. And so we need to make sure everybody's migrated by then. We'll have more information soon. We're working with CUNY to really be sure about that migration path and to make it as easy as possible. And for those of you who are using WebEx, the WebEx tool will no longer be available to us as of August 31st. So please make sure that you're completely off WebEx. And now that we have Zoom, it shouldn't be an issue for most people. You can call the help desk. They also are prepared to be a resource should you need. And feel free also if you need to call me.
Mr. President, can I ask Ron to comment also on the computer refresh piece?
Sure.
Sure. Under the leadership of the President and Provost, who had the foresight to allocate funds for this, we were able to purchase about 142 computers for faculty and staff in the Academic Affairs Division. Those computers have arrived on campus. They are being prepared, and we are working with the deans to call in faculty so that they can pick up those computers and make use of them. So we are in the process of doing that. It's obviously been a very busy time at the start of the semester, but we're making good progress. There's no backlog, and I want to thank you again, President Lemons and Provost Nwosu, for finding those funds to make this happen, because we're not able to refresh computers because of budget reasons as quickly as we would like. And so this will be really a boost for our faculty who will benefit.
Excellent. One of the questions that I've heard a number of times raised about the wellness screening app that we are using is about whether it meets all of the ethical and legal requirements for privacy. And you may want to comment on this. I know that this is obviously a very important concern, and one of the criteria that the Office of the General Counsel was involved in selecting this particular app, which does meet those requirements. But do you want to say anything more about that?
Yeah, I'm not the expert on this issue, but the tool was selected for use CUNY-wide. It was reviewed by the General Counsel at CUNY, and I think the overall issue is protecting the privacy of the individual. And so they do have measures in place to do that, and the information is protected and secured. There's a limited number of people who see this information. The most important thing is that the user who completes the information, fills out the form, will get feedback about green, they're cleared for campus access, or they're not approved for whatever reason for campus access. And so that's really what people will see. And that information is viewed by the gate when they enter the campus. We don't know what the reasons are when we see that information, So it's really essentially a way to protect people as much as possible. But we'll provide more information as a follow-up.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the officers at the gate will not have any record of who presents that. I mean, they will see what the app is presenting, but they're not the ones that will have access to that data, any record of the individual. There are only a couple of individuals on campus that have access to it. So that's important, and it's really built into the structure that the whole university now has around collecting and guarding that data.
Right, and it's a yes or no answer, so we don't see specific information about what the individual may or may not have answered.
Right. And for those individuals that either may be guests and not aware of the app, or for members of the campus community who do not have a smartphone, we still have an alternative form that can be used. It can, so that's, you know, there is always a way for individuals who have permission to be on campus to have clearance.
Right, there's a paper form that's available at the gate for those who do not have a smartphone.
Yeah, yeah. So we don't have any other questions queued up. So I'm going to ask you, Provost Nwosu, if there's anything by way of wrapping up that you'd like to say.
I think, Mr. President, you began this briefing this afternoon by touching on the incident that happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin. That incident remains a major crisis that we all face in our country. In addition to the pandemic as a crisis, in addition to the fiscal challenges presented, we also face a racial challenge. And so as we engage our community, to the extent that our faculty and others will play a common role in engaging our students in those conversations, that would be hugely helpful. These are very challenging times for us as a community, but we have each other to care for. And I call on all of us to engage in those conversations, even in our own classrooms, with our students as best as we can. And I want to thank you for your leadership in this work, and certainly the work of the task force you established on campus climate and inclusion will be hugely helpful as we advance our work at the institution. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're a few minutes ahead of our scheduled time, but we don't have other questions that I think we'll take up this afternoon. So I want to thank you all for attending, and just, you know, as we end, just seconding the provost's words when he opened up his presentation with the caring words about being a caring community and taking care of each other and being sensitive to each other in a lot of ways. I think that is, I don't want to take that for granted at Lehman College, but that is something that I think really is a feature of the college that I feel really great about. And I think we all should, but I think we also always need reminders about that. And then finally, I think to come back to the events of Kenosha and all those preceding events over this summer, I really do, I feel very strongly that we at Lehman College, whatever our role is here, we are part of the solution. And that's not to look outward and say, look at us, we're wonderful. No, we know we have a task force because we know we have work to do and we're going to do it. But I also think we really should see ourselves as a place where we can really work together, and we can be part of that larger conversation that's going on around the country often in very poor ways. But I think we have a lot to contribute to that conversation. And I think we all need to think about the ways that we can do that, because it is something that is a feature of who we are. So do think about that, and be a part of that conversation. So with that, I think we will say good afternoon to everyone and hope that you have a good evening, and the best to all of us as we move into the second week of our term next week.
Thank you so much.